Hi. Sing.
Back at Clemson Island. Getting back on the river. PA native. Getting wild this weekend.
Yeah.
Alright, man. You ready to get on this river?
Yep.
Alright. Let's do it. Alright, this is it. So much has changed in the years since filming part 1, but I couldn't be happier to be back out on the river with the PA Native boys, finishing what I started all those years ago. With the first 30 or so miles from just below the dam in Sunbury down to Clemson Island and Halifax covered already, it was due time to paddle the last 20 or so miles down to City Island and Harrisburg to finish the middle section of the Susquehanna River Trail. So we started right where we left off, Clemson Island. And while Thad was only spending the day with us on his paddleboard, Ryan was back too and ready to see out the remainder of the 50 plus miles with me, as the only two from the group to paddle every mile of the trail's middle section. Our first big landmark of day one is the highly trafficked Clark's Ferry Bridge. Once home to one of the world's longest covered bridges, the current structure over this stretch of river was finished in the mid-1980s and doubles as a hiking path for the Appalachian Trail as it passes through this section of Pennsylvania. Just below the bridge was our first hazard of the trip. Some small ripples and a few big rocks to avoid. Or not avoid. I get caught on a rock and turned sideways, forcing me to paddle hard on one side before dislodging my kayak and floating away, having taken on some water in the process. No big deal until I look behind me and my cooler full of food and water for the next 2 days is gone. Nowhere to be found. I flash back to when we launched and quickly realize I failed to double check that particular bag to make sure it was secured well enough. And even though Ryan initially tied the bag on, it was my mistake for not checking it. I had no one to blame but myself. We assess our remaining rations while keeping an eye out for Thad's departure point, a stone bridge where Sherman Creek flows into the river. He gives us the rest of his food and water before we make our way river right. was time to say goodbye to Thad and push downriver towards our campsite for the night, Island 81A of the River Trail.
You heading out of here?
Not too far, but yeah, man, out. I'll let the wilderness take me where it will.
Alright, man.
See you guys.
See ya.
Have a safe trip tomorrow. If you run out of food, you can always do some Survivor Man stuff and catch something with your hands. Get a river bird.
Like a lot of the islands, walking through a lot of mud right now. But we think we found our island.
If you watched part 1, you'll know that it can be difficult to find the exact island you're looking for out here. Ryan and I studied maps of the islands and made sure we had coordinates handy to get us as close as possible. With the help of modern GPS and our ability to recognize the right cluster of islands, we landed on the rock beach on the north side of Island 81A. Time to explore our island. The last visitors to the island had floated in from Millersburg and were also heading to City Island the next day. Then, minutes after landing on our island, it became apparent to us that we had neighbors camping on the very next island over. We made a quick assessment of the campsite and found some good piles of driftwood to burn throughout the night. It was time to grab our boats and supplies and start making camp. Well, I'm happy to say that today we found our island without nearly as much trouble as we did before on past trips. And so we're on
Island 81A. We have wood, campfire, sleeping arrangements. We even have neighbors on the next island, believe it or not. You can just see their kayaks over there. Said hi to those guys already. And we're just ready for some island chilling, some island life. Camp life, PA native life. I lost all my food and all my drinks around the Clark's Ferry Bridge, so if anybody's kayaking and sees a little cooler full of goodies, you're welcome. Luckily, Ryan came prepared, and we'll have enough food to get through this trip. Enough drinks. Pretty decent float today. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit tougher, a little more rapids, a little more reading the river, but it was a good float today with Thad. We went a few more miles downriver, found our campsite, and here we are. And we're ready to chill for the night. We're going to grill some dogs, have a good time, be back on the river in the morning. City Island, final stop. Hot dogs on the fire. Got really nowhere to go with them once they're done. Besides another muddy grate.
You want the machete or you want the K-bar?
I don't know about the machete. I even had mustard packets in there, some ketchup, mayo. Yeah. All of the luxuries went into the river.
Choose your weapon. What are you eating dinner with? I'll give you this.
Thank you. Just out here on the Susquehanna River Islands cooking up some dogs. Mountain man / river man style. Living that island life. This sun is actually starting to poke through the trees here a little bit. We kayaked several hours on the river, not one sight of the sun coming through the clouds, going on 6 o'clock, and it's happening. How's that log feel?
Not bad. I just kind of just want to meditate.
There is really nothing quite like camping on the islands of the Susquehanna River. I mean, it is an experience. Life moves very slow out here. Our neighbors across the way here on the other island have been playing some music. They've been keeping it nice and low so we don't have to hear it too much. We have a very, very big day ahead of us tomorrow. Tackling probably the toughest stretch of the Susquehanna River Trail's middle section. All those years ago we did the first 30 miles and we're about 38 to 40 miles in now at campsite 81A. You can see it's starting to get dark. We have a beautiful sunset coming in. We'll be up nice and early to get these kayaks on the river. And we'll be heading down past the Statue of Liberty, the Rockville Bridge, some other bridges, lots of islands, and eventually we will be at City Island where we'll finish our trip. So we're gonna enjoy this beautiful weather that we've got, this campfire we've got burning, and even though I lost all my food and drinks, we're gonna make this work. Well guys, nightfall on the river is really starting to set in. It's going on 9 o'clock, and we're gonna be hopefully catching a good night of sleep here before another big paddle. This is one of those weird times on the island, you know. You just really feel kind of small out here on an island in a big river. Gives you a lot of perspective and a lot of stuff to think about. It's not a feeling you'll get anywhere else. That said, we are going to watch our fire, keep burning the last of our wood for our fire here. Before we call it a night. Island 81A, possibly Island 81B campsite right across the river from us where these other people are. Not 100% sure. A night out on the river. That's what we got. Alright, here we are. Morning after our night on Island 81A. Pretty decent little campsite. And got a little bit of sleep. The trains down here in this area are really loud at night and they just keep going, so don't think you're gonna get some uninterrupted sleep out here. You're still close enough to the highway, close enough to the trains that you can hear pretty much all the noise, but the nature sounds drown some of it out, which is nice. You know, we're up with the sun, we're getting stuff packed, and we're gonna keep making our way down the river until we finally get to City Island today. Gotta write a short message in that book before we leave. Well, it's time to start putting the last stuff in our boats and heading on out of Site 81A. Sign the logbook and getting ready for our long paddle south. Final stop, City Island. End of the Susquehanna River Trail middle section.
Unlike day 1, day 2 gave us 0 cloud cover. We knew we were in for a long hot day of paddling and rapid riding. Oh, and did I mention we were low on drinking water? Well, we have just enough to make it through today. We think. Shortly after we launched on day 2, we had the Statue of Liberty in our sights. I was excited to paddle this stretch of river, having driven up and down this highway hundreds of times, looking out at the statue, the water, and the rapids running by it. Finally, it was time to tackle this incredible stretch of the water. In 1986, a group of friends created and set up the original Susquehanna River Statue of Liberty in the middle of the night. Years later, it was damaged in a storm and replaced with an even sturdier model that still stands there today. And the view from the kayak beats the highway every time. After the statue, we only had a quick breather before getting to the Rockville Bridge. Opened for use in 1902, it's widely known as the largest stone arch bridge in the world and a significant feat of railroad engineering. What an awesome piece of history to be floating under. The Rockville Ledge. Positioned just below the bridge, it's a deceiving wall of rocks that spans most of the river's width. Like this whole section of river, we stayed far left and found a nice little class 2 to 3 rapid to run as we safely made our way through. As we made our way into Harrisburg, I could feel a wave of accomplishment flowing over me. Pretty soon we'd have eyes on City Island, drawing an end to an incredible journey. From Sunbury to Harrisburg, I had covered every mile of the Susquehanna River Trail middle section. 50 plus miles of pure Pennsylvania wilderness and kayaking bliss. I couldn't be happier to call this place home. As we approached the heart of the city, we watched as the pride of the Susquehanna riverboat cruised off on a tour. It was great to take a moment to soak in some more amazing views before the trip was over.
We're officially here on City Island. The middle section of the river trail is complete. And it's time to pack the car, head on home, and rest our weary bones till the next adventure. All 50 plus miles have now been covered by PA native. What a time to be alive.